To prepare for interview, answer like 5 questions that a lot of people have that mostly ask in interviews. So I'm going to be first giving maybe examples for many of the questions, others just show you how best you're supposed to respond. Now, I purposely didn't prepare for this session, and it was deliberate um, because I wanted to give you an example. Not like I'm asking you not to prepare, but the way I approach my interviews is that usually I am prepared in advance. So I don't prepare like when the interview is tomorrow, I start preparing today. No, I'm prepared for my next interview today. I don't have any interviews pending. I haven't applied for any job recently, but future interviews or when I'm planning to apply for the next job, maybe in 3 or 4 years, but that's not for certain. But even at that, I'm already ready for that interview. So I don't start preparing for the interview a few days to or a few hours to. I'm ready. So if you wake me up by 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. tonight and tell me, oh, there, there's an interview that wants you to attend, I'm ready for it. The only thing that I won't be ready for is if I don't know the company, I haven't done any research um, to understand what the company does. That's the only thing. Or why do you want to join us? Those are the questions that I won't have answers to. But tell us about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Gaps in your experiences? Things like that. I'm ready. So that's the same approach I want you to take when you're preparing for an interview. Don't. The only thing that should be missing is why do you want to join us? Well, you should have a skeletal answer to that question. The only thing that will be missing is specific details about the things that the company does that you probably not aware of, maybe even had time to go through their financials or things like that. But apart from that, you should be ready. So always be ready for your interview before you have them. So that's first pointer. Before we go into the question proper, I've um listed the 5 questions that I want us to discuss today and added a bonus because one of those questions that someone asked was gaps in experience. So I thought I should add that as a bonus question that we can discuss and give my insights because the person was a bit I think he liked the way I responded. I thought, oh, maybe I should add it to my next episode. And a lot of people have come with feedbacks from the first session we had on the way we responded to questions about answering interview questions. So I'll dive right to it. First, there are 5 questions. Like I said, I'm going to go through the 5 and take them one after the other. Number 1, tell us about yourself. The question can come in as let us meet you. You know what they're asking, they just want to know about you. The second question, why are you leaving your current job? Or it can come as why are you choosing us, or why do you want to join us? Things like that. Then the third question is, what are your greatest strengths? Or what is your greatest strength? Maybe just one, or it could be two. So, but what is your greatest strength? Then the fourth question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Now, this is a very tricky question, and I particularly like this question and I still answered it in the last, I think 2 weeks ago. So once they asked me in the office, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it was quite interesting. Then the fifth one, tell us about the time you didn't meet deadline, or how do you handle pressure, things like that. They might come in different shapes, but how you respond is what really matters eventually. So I'm going to be going through the questions, like I said, and give examples where I feel appropriate. So maybe I'll use this opportunity to tell you about myself, use answering that question, which is the first question. Tell us about yourself. So if I'm asked in a typical interview, tell us about yourself. Now, just to give you a background, when they ask you to tell us about yourself, no one is asking about your personal life or things like how many children your parents had or the kind of food you like. Those things are not really important. So the question they're asking you is, tell us about your professional life. That is the main question. It's not tell us about yourself and you start giving details that are not relevant. So tell us about your work life or your professional life or your career life. That's the question. And how do you respond? So I use, like I said, use myself as an example to answer this question. Tell us about yourself. First of all, my name is Ephraim Unuigbe, and I am a chartered accountant. I started my schooling in the prestigious University of Benin. That was my BSc, and I qualified in my 300 level as the chartered accountant before I graduated from BSc. And I did my induction in 2012 after I graduated, doing all of the compulsory experiences. So yeah, after schooling, I started my career at Dafinone Consulting Limited as an ERP consultant. In that role, I was implementing accounting software and payroll systems for companies. And even though it was a training role, I was quite good at it because I implemented I solely for companies that were big, and I did those alone in some cases. Then after some time, I joined EY as a tax consultant. That was in 2014. I joined EY as a tax consultant. I did that for a couple of years, 3 years, and I moved to audit. I did audit for about 3 years, and I relocated from that to the United Kingdom, where I also practiced in EY for just about 2.5 years before I joined Grant Thornton, where I currently practice as an audit manager. And my experience span across both small and medium and large companies. In total, I can say that I have worked on clients with turnover of say 30 million to over 500 million. So you can imagine the range. So yeah, so that's my experience, and I have also worked on mostly corporate clients, or what you call commercial entities, and I provide audit, end-to-end audit, from planning, risk assessment, and all of that, and execution, then conclusion and signing of audit engagement. I particularly find audit interesting because it gives me satisfaction that I see the input of my work and how it comes out eventually to when financial statements are signed. Now, that's a typical way I would respond. Now, it might be that, so I've simulated sort of a situation, an interview situation. That's what I've literally simulated. So you can see that I talked about my career. I skipped some bit, but I think I emphasized the ones that were relevant for the position that I was applying for. So I emphasized the accounting qualification and the kind of portfolio and client that I deal with. So that gives whoever is interviewing me some uh, background of my person and my type of experience. So when they ask, tell us about yourself, that is how we expect that to go. And from my response, you notice that I didn't give um, personal details like, oh, I'm married, or I have children, or I was number so number of my parents had 9 children and I was number 9, and all of that. That's not important. What's important is giving your story from maybe when you graduated. Usually start from when you started your program, your BSc program or HN, whichever case may be, and how you have progressed from your career, the number of years you spend doing stuff. Now it's important you emphasize the number of years. It gives the interviewer your years of experience and how your level of the expectations that they would have for someone who has spent a couple of years doing a particular job. So if you have those handy, that would help your case and help drive home the point that you are an expert in what you do and you can deliver on the position that they are employing you or interviewing you for. If you have a question concerning what I've just discussed, you can drop a comment on the page and I would maybe clarify some bits and maybe throw more light on areas that might not be clear to you. The second question is, why are you leaving your current job, or why are you choosing us? I'll give a practical example for one of the interviews I had. It was a KPMG interview, so I don't have a problem saying that. And the question they asked me, I wasn't, like I said, I usually don't prepare for my interview because most of the questions are things I have rehearsed and done them again and again and again. So this particular one, I didn't prepare. And the first question that was asked was, why KPMG? And first of all, I was taken aback. So don't be like me, prepare for your interviews. But I was taken aback for a while, like, why KPMG? But again, I have a lot of information about KPMG, so it wasn't like I was totally blank. So I paused for a while. I said, in my mind, I said, why not KPMG? For example, like in Nigeria, most firms that most of the other big fours, when you're trying to describe them, you say just like KPMG. You first refer to them, and your man was like, "Whoa," it's totally not your typical answer. But I emphasized their strength and the things that make them unique in the marketplace. And the truth is, I've had friends that work in that organization, and the way they carry themselves portrays confidence, and that's what I highlighted. So I talked about the fact that I had people in that company, and this is what they do, this is what they say. They are companies that are very good with flexible working pattern or maintaining work-life balance. So you can emphasize that. There are some that are good with diversity and inclusiveness. You can emphasize that. There are different things that you can know about companies because they will highlight it in the media to tell you, oh, this is what we are known for, this is why we are good. So if you're going for a company that they already have something attached to that brand, it's better for you to know what that brand is and what they are known for in the market, so that when you're approached to ask questions that make them different, you can always reach out to those resources and express what the position is. So how do you answer why are you leaving your current job or why are you choosing us? I have just answered it in one way. Why are you choosing us? Highlighting their strengths and all of those positive things that attracted you to that company. It doesn't matter if you have 20 jobs application pending. There's something unique about the company that is attracting you to them, and that's what you need to emphasize. So emphasize that. Then the other part of the question is, why are you leaving your current job? Now, a lot of people just lose guard, use that Nigerian slang, lose guard and start saying some very negative things about their current job and why they think they are not well appreciated and why things are wrong and all of that. No, that's not how you should approach it. So why you leaving your current job is about you, not about the company. So you focus on you and what you want for your career and your new prospect rather than focusing on the negative things that you're leaving behind. So if you ask me, why am I leaving my current job? I'll just tell you, oh, I'm leaving my current job because in the next couple of years, this is where I expect to be in my career, and I feel that I'll fulfill that purpose outside where I am currently, and especially because you have this, and that is attractive to me, and that's why I'm coming there. So make it focus on you and what you want to change in you, and tie it to what that company has, what they are offering you. So, one, get to understand exactly what makes that company that you're going unique. You'll probably find it in the press, what they are loud about, what they want to be known for in the market. Then, don't focus on the negatives in where you're going. It doesn't matter. Where you're going also has negatives. So, focusing on the negative in where you're living doesn't help you in any way, doesn't help your cause. So focus on the positive, focus on yourself and what you want to achieve with yourself, then tie that to the positive in that company and explain from that angle. That is how best to tackle that question. That is number 2. Number 3, which is, what is your greatest strength? You can have 10 great strengths, or what you want to call greatest strength if you prefer, but what is the greatest? Which one relates to you more? That is what you should focus on. You don't want to give too many broad examples. So what you can do is focus on one that you can elaborate on without giving too broad examples. So focus on particular ones that you can relate with. So if you ask me, for example, Ephraim, what is your greatest strength? I'll tell you that one of my greatest strengths is resilience. I like to finish things. So I start something and I watch it until it is done. I don't give up. So I have different situations where I find myself on projects, and there are people that are supposed to be working with me, and things are not moving the way I expect. And because it's time based, some people come in the middle of the project and they leave, and it's probably left to just you. So in those cases, I put in all the time that is required just to ensure that that project is totally complete. So resilience, I see things through. I like to start things. I watch the process grow, and I like to complete things. And I'm not satisfied until things are complete. So that is one. I can give you other examples of what I think are greater strength. Your own could be you are a good storyteller, depending on the type of job that you're applying to. Some will require storytelling, and if you're a good storyteller, you should emphasize this and let people know how you present those stories and how that strength would impact on the role that you're applying to. Don't just give us trend like, oh, I'm a mountain climber and I have energy. So how does that help you on the job? Whatever example you're giving, whatever answer you're giving to a particular question, let them be tied to how those strengths can be replicated in the role that you're applying for. So don't just give an abstract example of what you're good at and it has no bearing to the job that you're applying for or applying to. So I believe I have answered those three questions. There are two more questions that I'm going to answer. But if you have any question on the question, the points that I've raised so far, I want you to just put them on the chat, or if you're not clear about something, you can put them in the chat. I can always go back and answer. The fourth question, which is my favorite, is where do you see yourself in 5 years? It can come as where do you see yourself in 10 years, or where do you see yourself in 20 years? I wrote a piece of or a response to this in my book. If you have not gotten my book, by the way, I think you should get it. Succeeding in Your Career, a roadmap for graduates and young professionals. You find it on my website and on Amazon. But the question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It can be, like I said, in 10 years or in 20 years. The question might come like that. Now, I like to answer it from my angle and not necessarily what the interviewer or whoever is asking the question is thinking. If you have built a career over time, you see a pattern in how you view things and how you see things. Now, I've seen a pattern in mine, and I have seen my career progressed in 3 years intervals. So if you listen to when I was introducing myself or tell us about yourself, you see I kept mentioning 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, and that's how my career progress has been. So I like to answer the 5 year question in 3 years because I've seen a pattern. So I don't see myself in 5 years, I see myself in 3 years. And I feel like whatever level I am in a career, I should learn everything I want to learn within that 3 years in that level and move to the next level. And that's how I have been, and that's how I have seen the pattern. So you have to relate your goals and vision and future projection as it relates to you personally, and not necessarily answering in abstract on because they've asked you in a particular way. So don't answer 5 years if you don't see yourself in 5 years. Don't give a blanket response like, oh, yeah, in 5 years I want to be this, I want to be that, when you actually see yourself in 1 year interval. So just someone that they also asked this question, the person said in 12 months, because it helps them plan, and every day or every week or every month they are able to measure their progress based on the 12-month plan. So in 6 months, if they haven't reached half of that plan, they'll ask themselves, what exactly am I doing? But if you have a 5 year plan, and you can be you may be tempted to want to wait to year 4 before you start, depending on who you are. Some people don't mind starting even if it's 10 years and they start today. Some people are that disciplined to do that, and some people just want to see it in 12 months. So don't answer the question the way it comes to you. This is the only question in an interview that you are allowed to think outside the box. Other ones might be direct, but this particular one, you don't have to give an answer the way the interviewer is expecting it. So answer it as it relates to your own person and how you see things from your own perspective. What if you are a young graduate and you haven't had to really experience a pattern of how things are? How do you answer it? Now, that's a very good question. So, if you're a young person and you don't have a pattern, you haven't really monitored your pattern, I'm sure you'll find something that interests you. And the way you would answer it, or the way I would advise that you answer it, because you are new, you probably need to learn the rudiment um, and the basic things that are required for that profession. So I wouldn't want you to give a 5 year, except you know that, oh, this by this number of years I'm expected to move to this level. If you don't if you don't know that information because you haven't researched it, so you can do a 12 months plan. You can answer it a 12-month plan to say, I'm a fresh graduate, I'm really not familiar with the role, even though I know what the job descriptions are, but I really don't know how 5 years would look like because I haven't really experienced much. But in the next 1 year, this is what I plan to gain or achieve, which is just um, list them. What are the things you want to achieve in the next 12 months? Oh, I want to learn, for example, as an accountant, you want to learn about the standard and the practical application of those standards. That's conventional. You want to be able to communicate and in both written and oral communication. Now, a lot of people just assume that, oh, communication is that easy because you have had those kind of communication. You'll be surprised that when you get to the corporate environment, even writing a simple email could be a challenge, especially if you haven't had the experience before. So when you get into when you're answering this question, those are the things you're going to say. Oh, I want to build confidence, communicate properly in my written and oral communication. This have good communication with client, ask important questions, things that are relevant to my field. Those are you can even just highlight the things in job description that these are the things you want to learn in your first year. It doesn't matter. But having that insight, it shows to some extent self-awareness, a level of self-awareness that you are aware of yourself and the things that you're capable of. So don't jump into the 5 year question to say, oh, in 5 years I want to be the MD. I can remember this one job I applied for when I was just starting out, and the question was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm like, oh, in 5 years, I want to be a director. It was very ambitious. And I said, oh, I would have achieved this and this and this in year two, and this and that in year four, and year five, I want to just be on top. But I don't think that was a smart answer. If you ask me again, I would probably say something else. But yeah, so it gives you that advantage to know what you're capable of. And because you haven't really experienced it, it puts you in a better position to just give a 12 month answer instead of 5 years or 10 years. And that's not to say that you can't see far, especially if you have done your research. You know what it takes and how many years it takes to get to the top of your career. You can say, oh, yeah, in 2 years, I want to be here. In 4 years, I want to be here. In 5 years, I want to be here. And in 10 years, I want to be here. And in 20 years, I want to be here. So if you see that far, that is totally fine. You can explain and just make sure you have the information to back up whatever explanation you're giving out to whoever is asking. That's number 4. Number 5, tell us about a time you didn't meet deadline or how you handle pressure. It can come in different ways. And this I like to give practical example because these questions are most of them are practical based on experience. It's possible you don't have experience, so if you don't have experience, you can relate with maybe group assignments you had in during your program, or maybe even your family. Examples for projects that you have done in your family that you can highlight and use those for example. And I think that's something that we need to talk about. Using the STAR approach to answering every question, but we'll talk about that after I've answered this one. So tell us about a time you didn't meet deadline. Now, for most December 2020 or accounts, the reporting date in the UK is September, and so there's a lot of deadline to meet at September. So you can use any example you like, but so jobs that start say in May or June, I expect to be concluded before September. But I've had one or two jobs that I couldn't finish at the end of September, but this is what I did. So I realized that the way the project was going, I couldn't meet up with the September deadline. So first of all, I ensured the reason wasn't as a result of our own negligence, but maybe due to the client's delay, and or even if it's as a result of your own negligence, it's better you communicate it on time. So whatever the reason is, it doesn't really matter because things can happen, especially with projects that you didn't expect to happen. But what you do with those in those situations is what counts. So first of all, you need to communicate with whoever you are reporting to, let them know the position and the situation of things. Then you need to communicate also with the client to say that, oh, this is the timeline for this project to be completed, but due to this, and this, we can't meet up. This is possible if they are aware that things are like that. So it's easy to communicate to them and let them see why you couldn't meet. But if you just wait and expect that, oh, everybody knows that we can't meet, then you'll be missing the point and you probably won't be able to answer the question properly. But you should give this notice, say in July or August or early September if the deadline is the end of September, so that everyone is aware ahead of time that you can't meet. Otherwise, you'll be putting yourself in even more pressure when it's time to deliver on a project. So that's how I handle my own deadlines and pressure from work. If I can't deliver on a job, I don't sit on it. I communicate, and while I'm still trying to ensure that I put in all the effort that I need to put in, I still ensure that I communicate that information to the appropriate people. So I've answered 5 questions on how you should answer these questions when you're having interviews. You can have, I've just given you like a template. It doesn't have to be word for word, or you don't have to use the same style, but think about the questions well before you respond. So first of all, we've talked about how to answer the question. Tell us about yourself. Why are you leaving your current job, or why are you choosing us? Answer that one. What's your greatest strengths? You can answer that one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Answer that. Tell us about a time you didn't meet deadline. Answer that. The bonus question, before I go to the bonus question, how to answer the gap in experience interview, question in interview, I want to talk about using the STAR approach to answering interview questions. Now, the STAR approach is situation. STAR approach is the situation. Then that's the S. Then the T is the task. Then A is the action, and R is the result. So this is mostly common even if you don't have any experience. If it's a first time job that you're entering, or entry level job, you should still be able to relate with some examples that you can use and answer these questions. So how do you use the STAR approach? The first one is the situation. Let me give you, I think I answered number 5 question using the STAR approach, but I'll go over it again so you understand. So tell us about a time you didn't meet deadline. So I gave you an example of a client that I was supposed to do filing for in September. That was the situation. And what was the task? The task was to complete the job, and sign off at the end of September. What was the action that I did? The action is what I did. Because I couldn't meet the deadline, I communicated that on time. I communicated that to my partner, and that is my superior, and I communicated that to the client. That is action. And what was the result? Because of that, I've taken the pressure off myself and spread the pressure around. So it's not just me that is worried about not meeting the deadline. And because I have communicated that on time, it helps the client and the partner to calm and look for solution to solving the situation. Now, that is just diluting how you use the STAR approach. First of all, situation, what the situation you were in, what was the task you were supposed to do, what action did you take, and what was the result of this action. Whatever interview question they give you, you can use that approach and you'll be answering it properly. Most times, you'll be answering them properly when you use the STAR approach. Now I'm going to ask. I'm going to answer the last one, which is the gaps in experience. And gaps can be as a result of different reasons. It could be that maybe you are taking a break. Maybe you just want to take a break. Some people take, especially in the abroad, they take career breaks to go to travel. So they just travel the world, and they probably go to Africa, they go to Asia, they go to Australia, go to Europe, just travel around the world for a whole year. Then they come back and continue work. Now, if that's what you did, it's easy to answer. So, uh, the one that's mostly difficult is if the person was fired. So, if the person was fired from a job, how do you answer it? Fired might be for different reasons. It could be a general retrenchment for, um, like the case of COVID. Some people were laid off their job, not because they weren't good enough, but because of the situation. They just looked at the situation and said, "Oh, who do we let go?" you, Everybody cannot be the best in an organization, so you can't really say it's because those people are not good enough. It might just be that they are not the top performers, or maybe the best. Maybe they wanted only one person to remain. So what happened to remaining nine? They ask them to go. So it's not because they're not good, but that's just the situation. So there are different reasons you can have gaps. Some people have gaps when they go have babies, especially married women, and even some men, some married men, when they have children, they just take a break to bond with their children before they come back to work. So different reasons. So, but if the person is fired for non-performance, how do they respond to that question? Because you don't want to look bad um, in front of the people that you are interviewing with. But I think that the thing is, if you lie, it probably come back to you in the future. You can escape for a while, but it will eventually come. So try not to lie when you are interviewing. Learn to say the truth at every opportunity, especially when you interview. You never know when it will backfire, and it won't be nice again. You'll be fired twice. If you were fired once and you got a job under pretense that, oh, I just took the time to travel, and you told them that you traveled all over the world, then they now found out later that you actually fired for incompetence, you'll be fired again. So it will be two fires. So if the person is fired, not you, if the person is fired once and they are reapplying to another job. Now, if you have a good reason, it's easy to say. But if it's a fired situation, it is what you did first while you're fired, don't lie. If you actually weren't doing as much as you should, and that got you fired, you can say that. And what have you done after then? You can't. Why are you laughing? So you can say that, but what have you done since you got fired? That's what is important. Someone said, I was listening to Brian Tracy today. He said the when you try something and you fail, it doesn't. The way you take it is feedback. You got a particular feedback, and you say, "Oh, this feedback is bad one. So what do I do better to get a better result?" And that's the way you should look at it. So I got fired on my job, but this was the reason that I got fired at, and after that I have gone back again. Some people get fired because they didn't pass exam. So that's a good example. So if you didn't pass exam and the company is asking you to go, you can go back. Some people write that same paper again, like 2 or 3 times before they actually pass. But what do they do after that? What did they do with that knowledge? If someone got fired for not passing, say, audit, for example, in ICANN, and they had to write it like 3 or 4 times before they passed the exam. What did they do with that knowledge? How did that make them better? Now you can say that, oh, after you did it, you started lecturing audit in a lecture center, and after a year of lecturing, the pass rate for that audit increased from 50% to 75%, for example. So getting negative feedback is not bad in itself, but what you did afterwards. This is hard, I know, but this is the way to do it. You don't want to be and the advantage. Let's look at the advantage. It's not just the disadvantage. The whoever is interviewing you would see the honesty that that you have. That this person looks like a teachable person, even though it looks like they failed initially. They have come back with more experience, and it appears that they have learned from their mistakes and they are better at it. Look at that advantage, and that is the truth. So it should be more like an inspiration to yourself to say, I failed in this before, but these are the steps I took, and these are the results I got. If you can spread your response and reactions to those questions the way I have just explained, you get it. If the company doesn't think that because you got fired on one job, you are not fit for the role that they are employing for, then it's their loss, not yours. Remember, you still have 20 applications for other companies, and I'm sure one of them will fall through. So don't feel bad that, oh, I think it's because I told them I got fired in one job. That's why they are not letting me in again on this one. So yeah, that's what I would do. And I think the essence of you have to be truthful to your own self. First of all, you have to be truthful to yourself. See that you are better at something. You have learned something from your mistake, and that's what you are taking forward. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop on my teaching today. If you have any question, you can put it on the comment section and we can look at it together. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving you some music for like 5 minutes before I hang up. But if you have any question, please feel free. If you want to join the session, you can request to maybe talk about it, or maybe if you want to just write it on the comment section, you can do that. Just before I answer a question or giving you music, I'm going to just run over the 5 questions or 6 questions that I answered today. First of all is, tell us about yourself. 2, why are you leaving your current job? 3, what is your greatest strength? 4, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And 5, tell us about a time you didn't meet deadline. Then the bonus question I answered is answering the gap in your experience. I hope you found the session useful, and I would definitely